Well, here we go. Hey, welcome to this live broadcast. I appreciate anyone tuning in. I just want to do a little sound check. If the sound sounds good, if you hear me okay, just give me a thumbs up. Also, I'd love to know where you're from. I know a lot of people from all over the world follow me on my YouTube channel, so it's really exciting. Hope everyone's having a nice Sunday night. I know I kind of did this this last minute. Down the road, I'm going to try to pick out like a specific time. I want to start going live once every single week at like a specific time. But let's get right into it. Let's go over 3 intermittent fasting schedules to lose weight and to improve your health. I got a whole bunch of slides we're going to go through. I even have some studies just to back up a lot of the stuff that I'm saying. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions, I can actually pull them right into the video so that everyone can see them, so we can all learn, learn together. And then I'll hang around at the end of the video. If you have any questions about intermittent fasting, about weight loss, about fitness, if you want to like go, run by me like what you're doing to stay in shape, I give you my opinion on that. As you know, my name is 𝘾𝙊𝘼𝘾𝙃. I've been a fitness trainer and gym owner for over 30 years. Opened up my first gym in 1989, helped thousands of people lose weight and just get into amazing shape. And if you follow me on YouTube, you know I'm a big believer in intermittent fasting and low carb eating a whole natural food diet. So let's get into this intermittent fasting thing right now. Okay, so there's we're going to be talking about 3 different types of intermittent fasting in this live broadcast. One's going to be a 12 to 14 hour fast, which I would say that's a great way to get started with intermittent fasting. Then we're going to talk about the most common type of intermittent fasting, which is called 16-8. And then we're going to also talk about, which is a little bit more advanced, which is probably my favorite, what I seem to have settled into the most, is called an 18-6. We're going to break these all down. I'm going to pull up some studies. If you have any questions along the way, let me know. Okay, let's switch over to slide number 2. Let's first of all, maybe if you're new, see we got a couple of different camera angles here too, which is kind of cool. I got 2 cameras set up. So if you're totally new to intermittent fasting, what it means is that you're just pretty much cycling between periods of eating and not eating. So for example, like the most popular type of intermittent fasting is that 16-8 that I just recently talked about, where you're fasting for 16 hours and then you're taking in all your calories with an 8-hour eating window. See, unfortunately, especially in the US, people probably eat more like 16 hours a day. They barely fast 8 hours. Most people wake up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom, throw a cookie in their mouth. People are just eating and snacking continuously. And you're going to learn from this broadcast that one of the best ways to burn body fat and actually to improve your health is to keep insulin levels low to begin a fasted state. That's where you dip into fat stores. That's how you burn body fat. And there's also a lot of research saying how much it improves your health. Okay. Now, I also want to touch on a couple of things. So you see the term about intermittent fasting is obviously intermittent is in the name of intermittent fasting, meaning that if you're practicing intermittent fasting, you should be doing it intermittently, not necessarily every day. And there's pros and cons to both. I like the idea of doing it intermittently because then you automatically cycle your calories without even trying, meaning that the days that you're fasting, you're eating less, and the days that you're not fasting, you're eating more, and it happens automatically. And that's a good way to maintain a higher metabolism when you're losing weight, by cycling your calories. But if you do decide you're going to fast every single day, let's say you're going to do 16-8 every day, I would call that time restricted eating. And obviously we're going to talk about there are pros and cons to both within this video, but I just wanted to be clear about that before we move on. Okay, let's go to the next slide, number 3. Okay, people always ask me, okay, what can you eat, what can you drink when you're in your fasted state? So let's say you're doing a 16-8, so you're fasting for 16 hours. What can you eat? Pretty much nothing with calories. I mean, that would be ideal. But you do want to drink liquids. So what type of liquids can you drink? And a lot of people like to use the term like clean or dirty fasting. Oh, we got thumbs up. That's great. So I'm glad you're hearing me okay. The sound's coming along good. Okay, also if you have any questions along the way, ask your questions. So some people like to use the term clean or dirty when it comes to fasting. Clean fasting is just like the perfect way to do a fast. That means you're pretty much consuming next to no calories. You're drinking a lot of water. I personally like mineral water. Why I like mineral water is because it's actually high in minerals, right? You're supposed to get about 400 milligrams of magnesium every day. Most people don't get anywhere near it. And things like mineral water, like Pellegrino mineral water, I drink like 2 liters a day. every liter of Pellegrino mineral water has about 50 milligrams of magnesium. So I'm getting 100 milligrams of magnesium just from drinking mineral water, which is great. Plus, you want to stay hydrated when you're in a fasted state too. It helps you with with your appetite, and you get a little sodium and calcium and everything in that mineral water. Another thing, a clean fast, I would consider black coffee and green tea, plain tea, to be a clean fast as well. Maybe in a cup of coffee, maybe there's 1 or 2 calories, maybe nothing in tea. And it actually suppresses your appetite. Some people even think caffeine. We're going to talk about autophagy later in the video, but there is some science they're saying that coffee can actually from the polyphenols and everything can actually upregulate autophagy, so you get even more cell cleansing. So I'm a big believer in drinking water, mineral water, coffee, and tea during your fasted window. But if you want to do it a little bit dirty, some people like to use the term dirty fasting, and maybe put just a teeny bit of cream in your coffee, a teeny bit of sugar, or maybe put a little bit of milk in your tea, or maybe you want to drink artificially sweetened drinks, you're still going to get most of the benefit. The negative is that when it comes to artificial sweeteners, some people feel that the body senses the sweetness even though there are no calories, and you might get a spike in insulin, and then insulin spikes, but your blood sugar is not elevated because there's no calories. It may make you really hungry. It's debatable, but that's one of the negatives. And obviously by taking cream and a little sugar, you're going to get a little bit of an insulin spike. But if it's minimal, you're talking 5-10 calories, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And you're still going to be so much better off than the average person who's just eating all day long. You're still going to get most of the benefit of the fast. But clean is better, dirty is okay. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's go over all the benefits of intermittent fasting. And I just wanted to back it up. There's so many studies. I just want to give you one study that's kind of backing up everything that I'm saying here. But obviously one of the biggest benefits is you're going to lose weight and you're going to burn body fat. And one of the main reasons why is that you're going to be reducing calories without necessarily counting calories and without even trying. Studies have shown, you're going to see, I'm going to pull up some studies that kind of proves this. It's almost counterintuitive. You would think that when you're fasting, like say you fast for 16 hours, you would think you're going to gorge yourself within that 8-hour eating window and try to make up for all the lost calories, but people don't. Most people, 90% of the people really don't. They actually eat less. So it's an amazing way to be in a calorie deficit practicing intermittent fasting. I mean, some people may say that's the only benefit. I think there's a lot more. I'm going to pull up some studies later on in this broadcast that you're going to see. I think there are other hormonal benefits to being in a fasted state. Like, for example, if you read Dr. Jason Fung, he's probably one of the leading experts on fasting, intermittent fasting. And if you read his book, one of my favorite books of his is called The Obesity Code. Incredible book on how to cure obesity. He would tell you that it's not calories at all. He'll tell you it's all hormonal. It's all keeping insulin levels low. He believes in that set point theory of weight loss that, say you've been overweight for 10, 20 years. Okay, dirty. Wow, thanks. That's the first to me, dirty fasting. Oh, that's great. Cool. So now we learned about dirty fasting. Excellent. Dr. Jason Fung, he believes in that set point theory of weight loss, meaning that, let's say you've been overweight, like I said, for say 10 years, 10, 15 years. He thinks your body will just settle into that weight. So if you reduce calories and actually lose some weight, your body will do anything it can, slow down your metabolism, release hormones that make you hungry, to increase your weight again, to get back to that set point. So he would tell you the only way to really reset your set point to a lower weight is to keep insulin levels low, either through fasting or through eating a low carbohydrate diet, which is really interesting. Pellegrino, yes. So I'm definitely think besides just calorie restriction, there's so many hormonal benefits to being in a fasted state. Just think, when insulin is low, the inverse hormone, glucagon, is actually elevated, which actually releases fat from fat cells, releases carbohydrates to be burned. So that's what you want. You want a low insulin environment to burn body fat and actually to improve your health, because you're going to increase your insulin sensitivity. Like when you've been overweight for 10, 20 years, unfortunately, you might possibly be insulin resistant, meaning that your cells are just not responding to insulin. That means you have your blood sugar is being elevated. Insulin is released from the pancreas to lower blood sugar, but there's no place for it to go you know, if your muscles and cells are just not responding to it, and you wind up with metabolic syndrome, that's when all the trouble starts. That's when you wind up with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all things like that. Let's pull in some questions here. Let's see what we got here. Some renewable water. I love your work. Oh, I really appreciate it. The amount of time to you. I know. I can't wait to get more subs. It's a tough game, YouTube. I got to tell you, I really enjoy making the videos, but it's really hard to get noticed. So I really appreciate everyone's support. And let me pull in another. Pellegrino. Yeah, I love Pellegrino. Excellent. It's my favorite mineral water. Okay, cool. Okay, so now besides, right, burning body fat from the fasting, and besides increased insulin sensitivity, keeping insulin levels low, increasing your sensitivity, it also can help with lower blood pressure. There's another great study talking about alternate day fasting, which is an aggressive approach where you're fasting every other day, dramatically lowered blood pressure. So if you really do have high blood pressure, talk about it with your doctor. You might want to experiment with alternate day fasting. Could really help. Another health benefit is actually it increases human growth hormone. That's why most people actually don't, lose muscle mass when they're in a fasted state. That's what people are concerned about, especially athletic people saying, oh, Mike, I mean, you're always talking about fasting. I know you're a weightlifter, you own a gym. Aren't you worried about, cannibalizing yourself, losing muscle mass? But those counter-regulatory hormones kick in when you're in a fasted state, and human growth hormone goes up, which actually preserves muscle mass. Let's see, we get another question. Another way. I love magnesium. Let's see. Another way to get more magnesium and potassium is by putting Himalayan. Yes, I totally agree. I think like magnesium, potassium, especially when people are fasting or just in general, are just, everyone's deficient. You're supposed to get over 4,500 milligrams of potassium every day and 400 milligrams of magnesium. When I'm fasting, what I like to do to make sure I get enough potassium is I eat at least one avocado every single day, about 800 milligrams of potassium, right? Another thing I do is I like to drink celery juice. Celery juice, for like 35, 40 calories, you get like another 1,000 milligrams of potassium. So if you have one avocado and you have like a 16-ounce glass of celery juice, I know I'm a low-carb eater, but there's not that many carbs in celery juice. You're already halfway with your potassium for the day. And then you're drinking your mineral water, you're eating maybe some nuts, you get your magnesium. You got to be careful with potassium and magnesium for sure. So all great suggestions. And pink salt, Himalayan salt, I totally agree. Great. Okay, now we got another thing that fasting does, which is great. To me, when I look at people's cholesterol, the numbers I'm concerned about are triglycerides and HDL. You want high density lipoproteins, the good cholesterol to be high, and you want your triglycerides to be low. How triglycerides go up is when the liver is full with stored glycogen, right? Stored carbohydrates. It can only hold like 50 to 100 grams, 200 to 400 calories. If you're eating tons of carbs and you're overeating, your liver is going to be full with glycogen. And then what happens? All the excess carbs gets converted into triglycerides. So I want my HDLs to be higher than my triglycerides. I know that like the doctor's numbers, you want your triglycerides to be below 150. I would love your triglycerides to be below 50. That's mine are way below 50, and I want your HDLs to be above 50. And then I know you're really healthy. And that's what intermittent fasting can do. When you're in a fasted state, you're burning up stored carbohydrates, and studies have shown it can actually lower triglycerides. Let's see another thing about magnesium. Is the magnesium? Yes, pills and powder. Yes. Okay, let's get another thing. Okay, let's talk about this autophagy thing. Okay, so what is autophagy? It's the body's way of cleaning out damaged cells, like weak and damaged mitochondria, weak organelles, and the body kind of like recycles them, right? And it's somewhat, some people say, it's really hard to measure. It's not like you're going to go to your doctor and say, doc, take some blood work on my autophagy. It's very hard to measure it. But the general consensus is that the longer you're in a fast, like if you're only fasting maybe 12 hours, you might not upregulate autophagy that much. But once you start getting 16, 18, and even longer into a fast, it gets upregulated. And then it reaches a point of diminishing returns. It's really hard to say when. It also depends when you're coming from. If you're eating like a low-carb diet, and then you go into a fast, say a 16, 18-hour fast, you're probably getting a reasonable amount of an increase in autophagy. And it's also somewhat of a never-ending process. Like it's always happening whether you're fasting or not. Like working out helps upregulate autophagy, just being on an empty stomach. So it's something to think about, and it's definitely something that's great for longevity, great for health. Some people feel that when you lose weight from fasting, you don't get as much saggy skin because the autophagy just think it's eating up all that like dead, the saggy skin, which is a possibility. I've definitely heard that. Let's see, we get another question here. Okay, everyone's interested in this magnesium. How much 10 million salt should one put in water? I drink 80 ounces per day. I'm currently working to keep my sugar between, see, that's great, below fast. Sodium, maybe 2,400 milligrams a day, 3,000 milligrams a day. It depends on how active you are. See, if you're eating like a low carb diet, this is a little bit more for the keto people. I go keto every now and then. I'm more of a low carb eater. You're going to lose water, you're going to lose sodium. You definitely want sodium. And, that pink Himalayan salts are good. And I also have, I forget the brand, I think it's called Real Salt, which is great. I read that book. Next time I do a live broadcast, I'll pull it up. It's a great, like the salt solution. I read a whole book talking about all the benefits of increasing the sodium, increasing the amount of sodium you're consuming is so good for health. The exact opposite. It's one of those contrarian books saying there's no correlation really between elevated blood pressure and sodium. The negative thing is that my negative thing with sodium is that so many processed foods are just loaded in sodium. It's really the processed foods that are getting you, not the sodium. Okay, I've got autoimmune problems, psoriasis on my legs and elbows. How long until these autoimmune cells are? That's so hard to say, but fasting I think can possibly help. Also, you may want to consider just like an elimination type diet for those autoimmune type things. You have to, it's so difficult, but you have to figure out what's creating the response. I'm not necessarily a big believer in those carnivore type diets, but Dr. Paul Saladino, he's got psoriasis, he's a carnivore, clears it up. Dr. Stephen Gundry, I read all his books, The Plant Paradox. They really take that elimination diet approach. They keep on eliminating until they realize what the issue is, like what food, lectins in foods. It's really hard to say. I feel bad for you. My wife has pretty severe psoriasis, and we've experimenting with things for her come and calm. The interesting thing was when my wife was pregnant, it completely went away, her psoriasis. It's unbelievable, like an immune response from being pregnant. So I'm sorry about it, John. Do the best you can. You might want to consider, though, really minimizing your diet. Maybe you want to try a carnivore diet, for a week. Carnivore meaning that you're just eating meat and organ meats. And then if you're feeling a little bit better, you see a difference, start introducing one food at a time, meaning that you start off with just doing your core proteins like animal protein, and then maybe introduce broccoli. See how you respond to it. Keep on introducing food. One of my best friends, it's funny, this guy, my friend Bill, he hired me back in like 1984, and we ran this gym together. His brother had horrible colitis about 25 years ago, almost died, and that's what he did. It turned out that he couldn't consume eggs, he couldn't consume dairy. He pretty much went on an elimination diet and healed himself. And it's interesting now because now he owns a farm, this kid, and my friend's brother, and he actually has chickens on the farm, and he feels, these are like truly pasture-raised chickens where they're just eating the grass and everything, and he can eat those eggs with no issue. But if he goes out and he buys like a commercial egg, or goes to like a diner and just orders eggs, he gets colitis. It's really incredible. So I'm sorry about this, the psoriasis, but you can figure it out. And there are doctors out there too, those holistic guys and gals, these doctors who will really work with you and put you on a good elimination diet. But think about the carnivore diet. Go to Paul Saladino's site and check it out. I'll also, underneath this, once I'm done with the video, I'll give you some resources in the comments of some people that I follow. I like that guy, Paul Saladino, for sure. And I'll also, I'll give you a link to Dr. Stephen Gundry's site too. All his books are great books. Yeah, for sure. He's got case studies of people getting rid of so many autoimmune type issues. Okay, now let's talk about also reduced risk of cancer. I'm going to talk about a study in one of the other slides that can actually reduce your risk of cancer fasting, and also reduced inflammation. Like all we know, like all the disease, autoimmune, all the different things are related to inflammation within the body. Okay, the body can react to issues. Yes, no, I totally agree. Food is medicine, right? And you got to figure out what your body works. That's why everyone's different. Some things work. You got to just experiment. Even with this intermittent fasting thing, I talk about all different types. I vary my strategies on a regular basis. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Okay, Now, I also wanted just to give you one study. There's so many studies. Just to back up a little bit of what I said. This is just a study that talked about people who were fasting for 18 hours a day and kept their consumed the calories within a 6-hour eating window. Had improved insulin sensitivity, had lower blood pressure, had reduced oxidative stress or reduced inflammation. This is just one study, and these were people who were pre-diabetic, but there were numerous studies, talking about all the benefits. Okay, let's go to. Okay, this is how I like. This is. If you're into intermittent fasting and you're into time restricted eating, you may just rush by and say, "Oh, Mike, what's a 12 to 14 hour fast? It's not going to do anything," but it really is. First of all, it's a great way to get started with intermittent fasting if you're new to it. If you're and maybe you follow me a little bit, maybe even obviously you've probably been fasting, but if you talk to the regular person in the street and you tell them skip breakfast, or you tell them skip a meal, or don't eat for 12 to 14 hours, they're going to look at you like, "Oh my God, what are you talking about? That's insane." And meanwhile, we all know here there are so many benefits to it. So if you're new to fasting, or maybe you have a spouse or a friend and you want to turn them on to intermittent fasting, start them out easy with a 12 to 14 hour fast. Most people, like I said, are eating 6, 7, 8 times a day with snacking. They barely get 8 hours of fasting in. And it's, ancestrally, it's not supposed to be like that. Ancestrally, when you ate food, when you had food, you ate it. And when there was no food, you didn't eat for 2 days, right? You'd be scavenging, around all the time for food. So, you want periods of feast and famine. That's how you stay healthy, in my opinion. Let's see, we got another question here. Let's see, let's pull this baby in. Yeah, cocoa, turmeric, simmer 20 minutes and lower eyelids puffy. Yeah, no, I love all these like natural home remedies. That's the way to go. I eat turmeric. I use turmeric heavily as a spice. Cinnamon. I put a little cinnamon in tea all the time. I love cocoa. I love dark chocolate. I buy this brand of 88% dark chocolate. Absolutely love it. If I cheat too much with a food, it's probably dark chocolate. Even though dark chocolate's high in magnesium, as we know, right? But I probably have a little too much of it. I try to limit myself to 190 calories, which is one strip of these chocolate bars I buy. But sometimes I double up. I'm getting like 400 calories of dark chocolate. But that's a little bit too much. Okay, so let's talk about some of the benefits of a 12 to 14 hour fast. Okay, now there was one study here that talks about just delaying breakfast. And this is a great way to start if you're new to intermittent fasting, right? If you just delayed breakfast by 90 minutes and then you ate dinner 90 minutes earlier, you're going to lose weight, you're going to have improved blood work. And this study showed that the people who did that, like 57% of the people who did that ate like less calories, consume less food, which is the opposite of what you would think, like we're talking about, right? You would think that if you're hungry and you're waiting 90 minutes to eat in the morning, you're going to eat more. Or if you're going to eat sooner, right? People just automatically eat less. It's such a simple way to get started with intermittent fasting. You just wait 90 minutes in the morning and then eat 90 minutes earlier in the evening. Great way to get started with intermittent fasting. And this is that cancer study I'm talking about. Unfortunately, these were women who had breast cancer, and they did a study on them with that. They had, a researcher had them fast for like 13 to 14 hours overnight. It was like an overnight fast. And they were able to have black coffee and green tea, just no calories. And the women who fasted for 13 to 14 hours dramatically had a lower reoccurrence of breast cancer. So there really is a lot of benefit of being in a fasted state, even if you're just fasting 12, 13 hours, for sure. Okay, let's go to the most popular. This is the 16-8, right? This is the one that became really famous. It's interesting how I got turned on to 16-8 intermittent fasting. Me and my wife have been fasting now probably 10, 12 years. I read the that Eat Stop Eating book. That was like doing a 24-hour fast, like once or twice a week to reduce calories. That was a popular book maybe 12 years ago. And then there was this like bodybuilding weightlifting site called Lean Gains. It's still around. I don't think they put any new articles on it. But this young kid was in incredible shape. He did a lot of research. He was like a bodybuilder, and he was the big believer in 16-8. And he really was the guy, in my opinion, who made it like really popular in the mainstream. Like it seems like physique athletes, bodybuilders, weightlifters were talking about this intermittent fasting way before it hit the mainstream, way before Dr. Jason Fung, way before all these doctors, started talking about it. And he was a big component in 16.8. And it really is a great way to lose weight, to burn body fat. Excellent way, like we talked about, to reduce calories. And I always love to talk about this study. And the reason why I like this study so much, because this is a study done on weightlifters. And it also showed in this study that in some instances, you don't even have to reduce calories to burn body fat, to lose weight, and to improve your blood work. So this study looked at weightlifters, right? They took one group of weightlifters and they had them eat like 3 meals a day instead of a 12-hour eating window, like a normal 12 or even like greater eating window. And then they took another set of weightlifters and they restricted them to an 8-hour eating window, 16.8, now 3 meals a day. Now both groups ate exactly the same amount of calories and even the same macronutrient ratio. Macros are your protein, fats, and your carbs. So everything the same amount of carbohydrates, same amount of fats, same amount of protein. And the people who took their calories within that 8-hour eating window, they actually burned more body fat, lost more weight, maintained their muscle mass. Both groups maintained their muscle mass, and they actually had improved blood work, like all these different things. Reduced inflammation, reduced cardiovascular risk. I mean, all these incredible things, eating the same exact amount of calories. So I love talking about this study. Some people would say, "Oh, Mike, these are weightlifters. How would this apply to the general population?" I think it would apply to the general population as well. The fact that it works so well with weightlifters is that they're increasing their muscle mass, they're lifting weights. But it's a great study that talks about it's beyond just calorie restriction, the benefits of intermittent fasting, for sure. Okay, so now let's kick into a little bit more of an advanced strategy. This is 18.6, and it seems like the longer that I've been fasting, this is probably my favorite. I seem to settle into an 18.6. And first of all, like I talked about earlier, my favorite thing to do, though, truthfully, is to keep on varying my intermittent fasting strategy. Like, for example, one day on a Monday, I might do a 16-hour fast. My wife does the same thing. On a Tuesday, I might do an 18-hour fast 2 more hours. Wednesday, I say, I might just do a 12-hour fast on Wednesday. Up my calories a little bit, give my metabolism a little bit of a boost. Thursday, I might do an OMAD day. Only eat 1 meal a day, fast for 23 hours. Right, Friday, I might go back to 16.8. I like to keep on varying my intermittent fasting strategy just because it keeps it fresh and new. I like to cycle my calories, and which in my opinion maintains your muscle mass. See, whenever you're losing weight, no matter what, to some degree, your metabolism is going to slow down because you're smaller. It's like a way of survival. But you can over-exaggerate the slowdown in your metabolism if you're constantly in a calorie deficit for weeks on end or months on end. That's why I'm always a big believer in taking diet breaks, even from fasting. And I'm also a big believer in just cycling your calories, like eating more some day, eating less the other day. We got a question here. I enjoy you. Oh, hey, let me see, Morgan's in here too. Yeah, thanks, Morgan. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for showing up too. Great photo. Okay, so, I seem to love, if I had to pick my favorite strategy, I like 16.8. I mean 18.6. Just going a couple extra hours, gives me a little more fat burning, gives me a little more upregulation of autophagy, especially if you combined it with a low-carb eating. See, I don't really go into like heavy-duty ketosis, like for extended periods of time, but I dip in and out of ketosis. Like, for example, when I do an 18.6 fast and I'm working out, right, and I'm eating a relatively low carbohydrate diet, something like maybe 50 net grams of carbohydrates. Like, net grams are just your total carbs minus fiber. So if you eat 100 grams of carbohydrates and say there's 50 grams of fiber, which is a lot, that's for the whole day, is 50 net grams of carbs. If I keep my carbs right then and I do like an 18-hour fast, I'll be in a mild state of ketosis. And ketosis just means that when your liver is low in carbohydrates, low in stored glycogen, right? So what it does is that it takes a body fat and it converts the body fat into ketone bodies like beta-hydroxybutyrate, and you burn those ketones up, hopefully, right? Your muscles burn them up, your brain burns them up, your brain loves ketones. There's so many health benefits of being in a mild state of ketosis. So I'm not really a straight keto guy, but I'm a low-carb, whole natural food guy, and I do intermittent fasting. If I only fast for 12 hours, though, I probably won't go into ketosis. 16 hours, maybe sometimes, but those extra 2 hours for me from going 16 to 18 will pop me into a nice mild state of ketosis for a couple of hours. And then I may jump out of ketosis, you know, when I ate dinner, or even like when I do an OMAD day. That's another thing I like to do, like at least once a week. I'm actually doing I do OMAD on Sunday, like today. I truthfully haven't even eaten today. I'm drinking my seltzers. I know this is kind of late. I'm probably 23 hours in the fasted state right now. My wife's making dinner. I know we're having one of my favorite things. We're having sole. I love sole, you know, fish. Having some asparagus, mushrooms, some arugula, you know, great way to break a fast. So I'm probably in a mild state of ketosis now. I'll pop out of it right out of my dinner. But I do like 18-6. I think it really is a great strategy. Okay, that's, I think, let's see. Anything else? This slide. I think we got a comment here. Let's see what we got here. I use 18-6 to reduce the inflammation in my knee. Yeah, I know. I got a knee issue too. Yes, I'm glad it helps you. I got a knee issue. I'm gonna do a whole video about my knee. You know, I had a knee operation about a while ago, maybe 12 years ago. Meniscus operation, didn't have a good result. It's been bothering me. It's kind of been bothering me ever since. I think it went blurry. Let me make that clear again. It's been bothering me ever since. I do a whole bunch of rehab, you know, for my knee. I'm doing something really interesting for my knee now. I'm doing Russian stim. I don't know if you know what that is. Russian stim is one of those electrical machines that makes the muscle stimulate, and I'm also doing that with blood flow restriction. Blood flow restriction is really interesting. It's actually when you like occlude, when you put a band, almost like a tourniquet, around your limb. So I tourniquet my limb with this machine. It's called the 𝙒�ㄫ machine, and it actually stops the venous blood return back to your heart. So actually metabolites like lactic acid like build up in your leg. So it's like doing like an incredible workout without doing anything, and I'd stim it with Russian stim. So I'm strengthening my quadriceps without putting any strain on my knee. And I have to say, it's one of the things that's actually helped my knee. And I do a lot of mobility movement, but I'm going to do a whole bunch of videos about, I'm going to do a whole podcast on my knee and the experience. I would say if I would be real cautious about getting any type of elective orthopedic procedure unless it should be your last resort, you know, for sure. Grill's here. Let's see. Cool. You made it to the live. This is great. Hey, Mike. First time. I really appreciate it. I know I did it last minute. I'm going to really, that's why if anyone has any comments, I really want to come up with a set time to do these live broadcasts. I want to come up with like a set time. I'm thinking Sunday, maybe Saturday, where I can just do it every time. I'm thinking about coming up with just the whole schedule in general. That's what all these people are telling me. Mike, you know, if you want to improve your channel, you should do 2 long videos every week at a set schedule, and then maybe do 1 live. I don't know if you guys know, if everyone knows, I've been doing a lot of shorts on just exercise prescriptions, but I think it's hurting my channel like to grow because it's a different group, you know, like these shorts are only like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and I'm getting like a lot of young kids. I'm getting a lot of 18-year-olds and like young people, and my demographic, who I'm trying to reach, are people, you know, like 35, 40 and older, you know, who want and not just want to build muscles, want to get them really, you know, improve their health and all that, you know. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, YouTube's a hard game, but I'm so glad everyone's showing up. Any questions for anyone? Anything about intermittent fasting? Any questions there? Any general questions about fitness? You know, you want to tell me what you're doing working out wise? You want any advice? You know, I do it all day long. Like tomorrow morning, I got my first client 7 o'clock, and they asked me all that fitness questions. Let's see, 4:35 p.m. here. You like that? So you like Sundays? Like late Sundays around this time? That's a good time for me too. I like Sundays. I guess I'm competing now with 60 Minutes in New York, you know, which is, but hey, what could you do? Do a video please on that, on orthopedics. Yes, no, I will. I want to really get into that. I don't want to come across like I'm complaining when it comes to my knee, because I know these things happen. I think there's like that 30% rule when it comes to an orthopedic operation, like an elective, like a meniscus. 30% of the people are thrilled. Oh, best doctor in the world. My knee feels great. 30% of the people are no better. 30% of the people are worse. Unfortunately, I'm worse with my knee. And actually, there's amazing research out there about sham operations, meaning that, you know, people who do like a fake operation, is like a study where they just like pretend like they're doing a meniscus operation, don't actually do it, just make the holes in the person's knee, and they seem to do just as well as people who get the operation. It's incredible. It's so effective that it almost, people like doctors almost consider it like it's just as effective as getting a real operation, but they really can't do it because it's not ethical. You know, it's incredible. Okay, Am I taking supplements? Am I taking supplements? You know, this is what I generally take. I do take supplements. I used to take a lot of supplements over the years. I've tried everything. I'm 51, yeah, I'm 58, Morgan. So I definitely take, this is what I take. I take a multivitamin, you know, pretty much every single day. I like Thorene, those basic 2, or I take this Alive. I did a video on, I think, about a month or 2 ago on like the multivitamin I was taking. I can link it below this as well. I also like to take fish oil. I do a tablespoon of fish oil. I take that Carlson, which is a great brand. I want to keep my omega-3s up. I also supplement. I want to make sure I get enough protein. I think most people are really protein deficient. Like, for example, I like to take, you know, I always say about 0.9 grams or maybe 1 gram per pound of like lean body weight. So I want to make sure I'm getting enough protein. So besides me eating, you know, animal protein, chicken, fish, meat, sardines, all that, I take collagen protein powder just about every day. Even though collagen is an incomplete protein, you know, it has glycine, it has great amino acids that are great for your gut and really good for gut health. So I like the collagen protein, but what I generally do is that I take maybe 2 scoops of collagen protein, which is 20 grams, and then to make it a complete protein, because it's low in tryptophan, I mix it with 1 scoop of hemp seed protein powder, which is a complete protein powder, and I get a little bit of fiber. So I take that pretty much every day. You know, I may do a little whey protein here or there. I take magnesium citrate from time to time, maybe 200 to 400 milligrams to make sure I'm getting enough magnesium, even though I'm trying to eat a high magnesium diet. I do that, but I've taken, you know, creatine is incredible, Morgan. I mean, creatine, I don't do it now, but I have years ago. Creatine's incredible, especially if you're a guy in your 50s. See, creatine is probably one of the only supplements that truly does work to make you stronger, increasing your muscle mass. And this is how it works. See, all muscle contraction is fueled by ATP, androgen triphosphate. Right, that's the first energy system. So like 5 to 7 seconds of ATP stored in the muscle. So you can like hold your breath, blah, 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 lift something heavy, not even breathe, and you can fuel that muscle contraction with ATP, androgen triphosphate. The second energy system is the creatine phosphate system, where creatine, see, when you use up that ATP, you're left with ADP, androgen diphosphate, 2 phosphate molecules. And then what that does, though, that ADP mixes with the stored creatine that's stored in your muscle as well, right? So if you can take a creatine supplement and have more creatine stored within your muscle, you're going to make ATP easier. So for example, let's say you can bench press 200 pounds 10 times. You take creatine and you load your muscles with creatine, you're going to do it 11, 12 times. You're going to be stronger. It really works. I mean, creatine is unreal. Plus it volumizes the muscle cell, meaning that the more creatine the muscle cell holds, the more water the muscle cell holds. So you can take creatine. I don't think you should load. They want you to load like 20 grams a day. I think if you're a guy my age, just take 5 grams a day. You'll load it up in about 2 weeks. You will be 10-15% stronger. You're going to look more muscular. Creatine is like, it's unreal. And it's probably the most studied supplement. I don't think there's really too many side effects. Some people get cramping. Some people get stomach upset. Things like that. There's one crazy thing, but I think it's I even did a video about it years ago. Like, I think there was one study that said someone got AFib. It was like a young kid, but I think he was overdoing. AFib meaning irregular heart rate. I haven't really heard much about that. I heard about that like 15, 20 years ago. I don't think it damages your kidneys or liver or anything like that, especially if you're just doing 5 grams a day. Because it's in creatine's found in like red meat and salmon and animal protein anyway. Okay, let me pull up. So if you want to try creatine, Morgan, I would try some creatine. Let's see. I'm in Connecticut. I live in Connecticut. I live. Popped up on a notification. That's great for me to catch your video stressing. Oh, thanks. That's great. Let's see. Tim making a video on. Can make a video on losing inches. I know. Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely talk more about that, Tim. That's really just like decreasing body fat and maintaining muscle mass for sure. I mean, I think fasting, it really does do that. Fasting seems to target body fat more than just losing weight, and especially that visceral fat, that deep organ fat. I did a video on that. I like that video I did on visceral fat, even though it did so maybe about a month old. I'll link that below this as well too. Let's see, what's cool? Okay, Netherlands. Oh, Netherlands, that's great. In the Netherlands, that's right. I would love to go to Finland. I really would. It looks like such a cool place. Could vitamin K2 be helpful? It could. Yes. I mean, a lot of people are low in vitamin K2. I mean, that's why I think I'd like just taking a multivitamin, and you can't go wrong. And you're gonna get your K2 buy a good quality multivitamin. You know, the big thing with multivitamins is that you want that version of folate. I think it's that M5 version of folate. You want a good version of folate. I know that Thorene Basic 2, that's probably my favorite. Thorene Basic 2 is seen like whenever it's studied, like third parties look at it, whatever they say it's in the vitamins in it, that's probably my favorite brand. I also like the Alive. That's a little less expensive. I like that one too. Let's see what we got. Exactly, the vitamins. Yep. Great info. Oh, thanks, Morgan. Let's see, Mike. Did you notice the difference in creatine? Because I didn't, but I do take it. You know, that's interesting. If you didn't notice a difference, I would say that you probably were getting a good amount of creatine already from your diet. Maybe you're eating a reasonable amount of animal protein. Like vegetarians, when they take it, they like get blown away. I had a client we made 3-4 months ago who was a vegetarian. I said, you got to be low on. He started taking creatine. He couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it either. He was like a Superman. He felt like he was on steroids or something. It was incredible. But I have heard that some people say maybe, you know, I heard mixed things. When creatine first came out, because it's so cheap, the creatine monohydrate, you know, people started saying, okay, how can you get people to absorb it better? So they started mixing it with all different forms of like sugars and carbohydrates. Then studies said, no, you should eat it more with sugar and fat. You know, I would experiment with different brands of the creatine. I think the what's that popular one? I'll link it below this as well. I think it's called Creapure. I could be wrong, but it's out of Germany. And I think that's considered one of the better ones. You can know, it's kind of like, you know, you can get them from China, you can get them from other parts of the world that may not be as good quality. I think it's called Creapure. And it's almost like I'm not using the right word. It's not copyrighted, but it's basically a lot of people will, when they put creatine in their supplement, it will be this Creapure. It will be this brand from Germany. And they have to buy it from them. I think that's probably the best brand. I mean, I'll find out for you, and I'll definitely link it up. I know you follow me, Krill, and I'll definitely find out. I think it's called Creapure, though. I'm pretty sure. Keep the head calm should be. Yes, I agree. I have a question. Okay, a friend who was doing IF protocol with 16-8 window, but her A1C went up instead of reducing. You know, I'm really surprised too. The only thing I would say there, that A1C is that hemoglobin, 3-month hemoglobin. You know, you know, I'm curious to know what her number was. I mean, the doctors want it below 5.7. I like to see it below 5.4, even 5.2. Maybe I know she's diabetic or pre-diabetic. I would probably say that with 16-8, even though she's fasting for 16 hours, unfortunately, she's probably still eating too many carbohydrates. I mean, you're still going to get a lot of benefit. You know, I did like this video today was just talking about the different strategies, but intermittent fasting works so much better when you're eating a low-carb, whole food, natural diet. If you keep your carbs like 50 or 100 grams, even not net carbs, even total, I mean, she probably needs to do that. And then maybe if her A1C didn't go down, you know, unfortunately, you know, she may have been overweight for decades, 10, 20 years. You know, she may be insulin resistant. And it doesn't just turn around overnight. You know, her number 11.0, well, 11.8 A1C, well, she's diabetic, right? So is she taking medicine and everything? You know, that's a pretty high number. I feel bad for her. Not that she can't turn around, but she knows she got to talk to her doctor about it. She's probably on metformin. She's probably on medicine or something, I would think. Okay, sorry about that. But, you know, the only thing you can do, right, is take care of yourself, exercise, sleep, reduce stress, keep cortisol levels low. But I'm a big believer in a low-carb diet as well. Let's see, Mike. Let's see what we got here. Okay, Mike. How are you? I'm in Detroit. Hey, great. We're doing OMAD during the week and 2MAD on the weekends. Love that. OMAD during the weekend. Oh, that's great. Cool. I'm sure you're doing good. I love 2MAD, OMAD. I'm a big believer in both. But just don't. The only thing I would tell you is take a break every now and then, because those are too relatively aggressive. Unless on your 2MAD days you're really taking in enough calories, which I'm sure you are. You know, I'm sure you know what you're doing. But to do 2MAD and OMAD like consistently, you know, almost every day, you just want to make sure you're not in a calorie deficit, you know, for more than a few weeks. I would take a diet break once every 4 or 5 weeks, you know, take a few days off, or just make sure you're consuming enough calories and getting good nutrition on your 2MAD days. Yeah, I guess she's on meds. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Any other questions, guys? This is great. I guess we got a little action tonight. We got a bunch of people in the room. All right. Okay. Well, this is great. I hope everyone's having, I really appreciate you tuning in. I really appreciate all the support, on the YouTube channel. And that's it. All right. Have a wonderful night. Take care, everybody. And I'm going to, I may do something in the community sections. I just want to do like a little survey to see what times people want. Okay. What amount of carbs is to start off too much? Okay. What amount of carbs is to start off too much daily amount? I would say it definitely depends on your activity level. I think 100 grams of carbs is a reasonable place. 400 calories is a good moderate low carbohydrate diet for most people, at least to get a baseline. At least to get a baseline to start with. And then if you get down to 50 net grams, it would be great. But it does depend how active you are. If you're pretty active, you maybe go a little higher. I like to tell people if you're 150 pounds or less, keep your carbs below 100 grams a day. If you're 150 pounds or over, maybe you can get away with a little bit more. But I'm personally around that 50 net grams. That's kind of where I'm at. And sometimes I just do 50 grams straight up. So I'm even low. I'm probably 25 net grams. But I like experimenting. I fool around with all this stuff. But there are certain days though, like if I'm doing a hard resistance training, I like to say I'm somewhat fat adapted, meaning that I'm a fat burner because I eat a low carb diet. I like to say I have the metabolic flexibility though, that like say I'm doing something aggressive, say it's a day that I'm doing like a really hard like resistance training workout, I may eat some carbs, before the workout. Like I talked about before, I may take like a vegetable drink and put protein powder and some carbs in it, and it's okay. I'm gonna burn carbs during that workout, but I'm gonna have more energy. But then I'll go right back to my low carb eating again. And who talks about that a lot? Mark Sesson. That's another great guy to follow. Mark Sesson, he wrote that first book called The Primal Blueprint, ancestral eating. He kind of coined that phrase primal, which is kind of like paleo. I read all this book. He wrote another book called Primal Endurance, which was a great book. Similar to, there's another guy I follow who's a doctor, a PhD called 𝘾𝘊𝘶𝑚, who's a fat adapted, like PhD, who's trained world-class endurance athletes. And he has, I love all the stuff. Yes, I read all his books. Another great guy to follow. And then Mark Sesson, he wrote the Keto Reset. He has a new book now called, I think, 2 Meals a Day, like a 2MAD book. But he talks about like having the metabolic flexibility, which I agree. Just because, like when you are like a fat burner and you're doing all this intermittent fasting, it doesn't mean that you can't eat carbohydrates one day or two, or go off your diet a little bit if you want to have a little, if you're gonna really like go for it. Like say you're going skiing for the day, eat a little bit of carbs. It's okay. You want the metabolic flexibility. Thanks, Mike, for your answer. 100 grams sounds like, yeah. I think 100 grams is I think it's like a sweet spot. I think it's a good place to start. At least you have a baseline. And you know what you can do? I would use one of those, I talk about it all the time. I would use one of those apps, and you can use MyFitnessPal. I like MyFitnessPal. It's so easy to use. And I also think everyone, at least for a week or two, even though, I'm not a tremendous believer in counting calories, but everyone for about a week or two, I think should enter and track their food, track your macros, your protein, fats, and carbs, and track how many calories you're at. And it's like an eye-opener. It kind of tells you what you are. Like you might be thinking you're eating like 50 grams of carbs. It turns out you're eating 250. You might think you're eating, 2,000 calories. You're eating 3,000 calories. It's a good thing to do. Especially if you eat, like I eat a lot of the similar food, so I kind of know because I've counted calories in the before. But if I have a new client come to me and they're not responding like I think they should be responding, like, and they tell, then I'll start putting them on MyFitnessPal. I'll track all their food for a week or two, and then we can make adjustments. It's a good thing to do, and it's a free app. There's a premium. You don't have to do the premium thing. I think the premium thing is if you want to just take a picture of all the food in your plate, it'll just do it all for you. But you can just enter the food, and once you enter the food, and it's in your library, and it's there for good, which is great. Let's see what we got. That vacuum pose. Oh yes, that vacuum pose. Yes. I love Frank Zane. That's probably my favorite bodybuilding pose. And Frank Zane, actually, he's signed. I got a signed copy of that picture. He's my favorite all-time bodybuilder by far. He was like they used to call him the pharmacist, back in the late 70s. He was into the nutrition and the science, and I read all his, he put out, not that he put out books, he put out a lot of pamphlets and things like that. But I'm a big fan of Frank Zane. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, is there a tool that you can teach how to track what a calorie is? Well, I think you're going to learn that from MyFitnessPal, which is great. It's so simple. You'll see. It's an app on your phone, MyFitnessPal. Once you download it, any food you put in there, it's going to break it down for you. It's going to tell you how many grams of carbs, how many grams of protein, how many grams of fat. It'll tell you how many calories. If you do pay for the advanced version, which is like $5, then it may start breaking down, you know, your vitamins and all, like vitamin D and vitamin K and all things like that. But you'll learn, you know, for sure. Like it's really interesting. Like something like an avocado, like a medium-sized avocado. People, like, if you look it up and say how many grams of carbs, it may say 20 grams of carbs. But then when you look at an avocado, it also has like 15, 16 grams of fiber. So the net carbs in an avocado is only maybe 4 or 5 grams. So it's relatively, in my opinion, a low net carb food. High on monounsaturated fat, but there's a lot of calories in avocado. But good calories, good healthy fat calories. That's a big thing with me too. When it comes to like fat, even though I eat a high fat diet, I don't chase fat, meaning that I don't add tons of fat to the food I'm eating. I don't put butter in my coffee. I don't like put butter on all my vegetables. I mean, I eat foods that are just high in fat naturally. I eat whole eggs. I eat 3 or 4 whole eggs every day. I eat regular salmon. I eat smoked salmon. I eat meats, you know, I have avocados. I do generously put olive oil, extra virgin olive oil on salads or when I'm sauteing vegetables, but I'm not like squeezing mayonnaise, and I'm not trying to increase my fat. And you'll see, if you're eating a whole natural food, yes, MyFitnessPal, one word. The MyFitnessPal is actually one word. You just look at it. If you have an iPhone, you go to, like, you know, the Apple store, but it's for Android too. You know, like if you're eating a whole natural food diet, like I'm talking about it, like, you know, fruit and, you know, some fruit, a lot of vegetables, like chicken, fish, meat, whole eggs, avocados, and you put it into MyFitnessPal, you're going to see that 50 to 60% of your calories are going to be coming from fat, but it's going to be good fat. It's not like you're eating, you know, like processed meats and bacon, and I know some people are into bacon and everything, you know, it's not like you're eating processed meat. You'll just see it's going to turn out that 50-60% of your calories are coming from fat. Maybe 10, 15, 20% are going to be coming from, you know, carbohydrates, from, you know, from the vegetables and the leafy greens. And then maybe 20, 25%, maybe even 30 are going to come from protein. And that's, in my opinion, the ideal macronutrient ratios. If you're eating a whole natural food diet, it should happen automatically. You know, you don't have to be like a keto person eating keto bombs. You know, keto bombs are these foods that are just super high in fat because they want to get fat. If you start a ketogenic diet, some people say, okay, there is some benefit to really eating a lot of fat for the first couple of weeks to help your body get adapted to it. But general, I'm more of like I say, a low carb eater. What do we got here? Do you have a video on workout routines and some written for us? You know, I do have a number. Since when I first started my channel, well, first of all, I started my channel like 11 years ago when, you know, when it was really hard to put videos on YouTube, and I did mostly fitness type videos, and actually they were getting a lot of views, but I moved my gym and I said, what am I doing this YouTube thing? And I stopped. And then about 3 years ago, I got really serious again. I said, let me try to build something. Let me try to get this YouTube thing going. And most of my earlier videos are from about 3 years ago, are all on workout routines. You got to go like deep into, like, you got to go into videos and go deeper. And what I did is I picked the body part, like I picked back. I did a bunch of back videos. Then I picked chest. I did a bunch of chest videos. Then I did like shoulder. Did a bunch of shoulder videos. And all my shorts now, those 15-second videos, if you scroll down on my page, you'll see shorts. Those are all that. And then I have a number of videos on, like, you know, working out for like over 50, over 45, but I'm going to do more of that. See, this is the weird thing about YouTube, which is kind of frustrating for me, is the algorithm, is that once your channel gets known for something, like I have a little bit of a following now for like intermittent fasting and like that. So if I do an intermittent fasting video, like I do a video on OMAD, it's going to do pretty well. Pretty well meaning that I may get a few thousand views. But if I'd said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do a video on, like, you know, how to get in shape, you know, like a little workout, like what's the best workout if you have 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and I put that video out, YouTube is not going to put it out there for me, you know, because it's just not, you know, what I'm known for. Is that once your channel gets big enough and like you have authority, I can start doing things like that, and I would love to. I'm even doing it now, even if they don't do well for my community, like for you guys. If you guys want it, I will do it, even if the videos don't do well, because I want people to, get a community going where people like my videos. So I will definitely do it. So specifically tell me what you want, and I'll do a video on it for sure, even if it doesn't do well. That's what I want to do. I want to get I got to get over 10,000 subs, because you're not even in the game until you're over 10,000. Once I get 10,000 subs, then YouTube gives you more like privileges, meaning that I can do stories and the algorithm. The algorithm is like kind of like the the wizard of YouTube. It will show your videos to different people. Right now, YouTube looks at my channel as being more of an intermittent fasting channel. I would love it to be more of a general like health, fitness. That's why on my headline I have mastering your health and fitness for people over 45. That's what I really want to be noted for. Let's see. You understand? Oh, thanks. Let me see here. I was never at the girl. I just started walking. It's interesting. I do have a video that ranked pretty well for walking. I'm such a believer in walking. If there's one singular thing you can do for your health, like physically, that's going to improve your health, is walking. Like I personally walk for 2 hours. Like once I walk I already did my 2-hour walk on Sunday. I like to do it in a fasted state. I walk 2 hours maybe once every 2 or 3 days, sometimes once every 4 days, at least twice a week. It's like meditating when I'm moving. The science and research behind walking is like a miracle drug. It's unreal. Like if you looked at any drug, even like we're talking about metformin, and you look about how it helps, with blood sugar and all that. If you compared metformin to just walking for like 60 minutes every day, I don't know. I think walking might beat it. I mean, it's incredible. People just don't want to do it. But if you can get out and walk, I mean, that's ideally, if you just want to start being more physical, if you can just walk for 30 minutes every single day, even 3 10-minute walks are incredible. And then just do some really basic. So you want to do a little bit of resistance training, no matter what, just to maintain your muscle mass. If you did like one set of body weight squats, you did one set of push-ups. If you're not strong enough to do push-ups off the floor, I got a video on it, how to do push-ups for beginners. Do it off a countertop, and then a set of planks. And you did that, you spent like 7-8 minutes, like 3 days a week, and walked, you're going to be healthier and fitter than like 95% of the population. Plus, you do a little bit of intermittent fasting. You do a 16-8, 3-4 days a week. You eat a low-carb, whole food, natural diet. You're going to like live into your 90s. I mean, you really are. You don't got to do much. I mean, I overtrained for 20 years of my life. I took things to the extreme. The older I get, the more reasonable I am. Moderation, like I say, really is the key to everything. And actually, it's even bad to work out too hard. It messes up your heart. I mean, unfortunately, I did a video and I saw. Remember Mark Spitz? He's older than me. I'm 58. Mark Spitz is probably in his 60s. He was like, that Olympic champion, one of the best swimmers ever. Won like 7 gold medals. The poor guy's got AFib. Because he actually tried to make a comeback like in his 40s. When you push your heart that hard, doing high intensity aerobics, like anaerobic threshold, like right at the edge, for extended periods of time, for decades, research has shown, and I've talked about this, but people don't even want to hear me talking about it. It damages your heart. It messes up the arrhythmia of your heart, your electrical systems. It's not good. 80% of your training, 80% of the exercise you're doing should be easy to moderate. Really. And then every now and then you go for it. Like I don't train to failure too often. I'm a big believer. I used to follow Arthur Jones. Yes, like one set to failure now and then is a good thing to do, but 80% of your training should be easy to moderate. And that's what's great for you. And you can be just as muscular, just as fit, look just as good. You're going to be healthy and live longer. The smart way. I totally agree. And light weights can build muscle just as well as heavy weights. I'm talking moderate to light weights. You keep continuous tension on the muscle. You close the muscle down. You make a lightweight feel heavy by using continuous tension and using impeccable, perfect form. That's like training for longevity. That's how you got to do it. Okay. All right, guys. I think dinner's ready at 8 o'clock New York time. Dinner's ready. My wife said I told her I'd be done by 8. So HIIT is okay, but okay. HIIT is okay, but not consistent. Like if you're people who go to like these spinning classes or the Peloton, who do these like hour-long HIIT sessions. HIIT is good. Like you literally do like a 30-second HIIT interval, maybe 4 or 5 of them, within like a 12-minute workout like once or maybe twice a week is like ideal. But if you're like pushing those hits, if you're like anaerobic threshold, like 95% of your max heart rate, and you're on the edge and you're doing that for like an hour, or if not longer, like 5, 6, 7 days a week. I have had clients or friends of clients who like go to like a spinning class, fall off the bike, almost pass out. They're at anaerobic threshold. They're controlling their weight with these high intensity workouts. Your VO2 max, that's your maximal oxygen consumption. You can, like, that's a big indicator of how fit you are. You can actually increase your VO2 max by doing like a HIIT workout, like a 12-minute workout, like twice a week, where you're just doing maybe 4 or 5 hard 30-second intervals, and be just as fit as someone who does like Peloton, killing themselves for an hour, 5, 6 days a week. I had a professor at Adelphi University in Long Island when I was in exercise physiology class. He was like this avid biker, like a competitive biker. He would like kill himself during the season, but then he was smart. I was too young back then to even realize what he was talking about. But then in the off season, which was like 6 months, what he would do, he said for 3 days a week, he had the stationary bike in his basement. He would do these like, the tablet, those 10-second intervals. He would do this like 4-minute workout, he told me. He said, Mike, I only work out for 4 minutes, 3 days a week in the off season, where I would go as hard as I can for 10 seconds, easy for 20 seconds, hard as I can for 10 seconds, for a total of 4 minutes. And he was in exercise physiology, had his master's degree, a PhD. And then he would ventilate himself. Like we would put him under like lab testing to see where his VO2 max was. And all winter long, by only working out for 4 minutes, 3 days a week, his VO2 max did not go down. And he actually wasn't overtrained. He recovered. He knew it was good. And then he went back into the on season where he was overtraining, because he was competitive like cyclist. You can be in amazing shape, not doing much. So I would do that long, easy, like those long walks. And if you want to do like 2 short, like 12-minute, 5 or 6 interval workouts a week, that's all you need. And it's actually ideal. Let's see. Not till total, right? Not till, well, like you can do those short hits to relatively almost exhaustion, but short duration. Like the whole workout shouldn't be more than 12 minutes, say, and maybe only and within that 12 minutes, you're only working hard for maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 3 or 4 times. So maybe out of a 12-minute workout, you're going all out from only maybe 2 or 3 minutes. It's like ideal. To do much beyond that, you're asking for trouble. Maybe when you're really young, but you start getting to your 40s, 50s, and 60s, it's not good for your heart. It really isn't. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, let me get to dinner. My wife's going to be banning me. I said I'd be up there at 8. So thanks again for everything. And everything I talk about, all those links that I'm going to be I'll put that on later table. Let me go eat dinner, and then I'll hook it up later tonight. But thanks, everyone. And I really appreciate all your support. Take care, everyone. Wonderful.